Last week's smaller circuits have been replaced by much larger tracks this time around. The Ferraris will have to navigate the ups and downs of the Alps, while the GT3 AMs must decipher Motegi's labyrinth layout. We'll see who can do it best as we get ready to watch round 2 of the PRL GT Amateur Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Starting off at the Red Bull Ring, we've got a popular circuit on our hands. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more about it. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. While they range roughly between 1 to 2.5 miles in length, the thing they hold in common are fast straights, hard braking zones, and very few corners. In fact, the longest and most common layout, the Grand Prix course, has only 9 of them. Spots like Remus and Gosser are the most popular corners for overtakes, but both involve dramatic elevation changes. Each have their perils. Remus tends to see drivers make contact when the blind cutback often goes wrong, whereas Gosser tempts you into braking far too late, and the downhill nature shoots cars miserably into the gravel. A few swift bends still scatter the track, with turns like Lauda, Rent, or A1 really testing a driver's accuracy at high speeds. However, most of them don't send you off into the grass. Rather, there is a lot of paved runoff. But they often include some nasty curves most cars will want to avoid hitting, as they've been known to damage suspension and undertrays. A variety of types of racing compete here, with everything from lower Formula open-wheelers to motorcycles, touring cars, and all the way up to Formula One holding events regularly. Set among the gorgeously picturesque Alps, and including great racing on a challenging and history-rich circuit, it's easy to see why fans and drivers are both eager every time they come for a race. And there's a little bit about this circuit, but we've got the Ferrari GT3s here, the brand new Evo DJ. How are you expecting them to handle at this place?
Well, Joe, we've seen a lot of GT action around here, and every time we come here, it seems to be a little bit of the same story. 2 really good passing opportunities going into the Nicky Lauda, going into Remus and Schlosskold, the end of those 2 long straightaways, and then the second sector gets a little bit of follow the leader. I expect this to be a pretty high speed affair around here. These Ferraris pretty good handling, so they're not going to have to worry about a whole lot of oversteer coming through that tricky interior area in Roush and Wirth. We've seen a couple of dive bombs down into the last corner, but don't really expect too much of that. I think this is really going to be a race where aggression is going to be prized. The more aggressive, the harder you can be on the brakes, the better it's going to end out.
So, who is good on the binders today? Before we find that out, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also brought to you by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out today at thebutkicker.com.
And tonight's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at simsa.net.
And finally, the PRL GT AM series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. So we've got one round in after Summit Point here. So let's take a look at the championship standings. And up at the top of them, it is Jonathan Wager, just ahead of Luke and Stetzel with File and Wildridge rounding out your top five. It's, of course, naturally close after one round. A little bit of bonus points can help alter the order slightly, but we'll see if today changes that all that much. What about the team standings? That's got a little bit more to jumble it up.
It does indeed, Joe. And as we take a look there, Apex Button Box on the top of the charts by only 4 points over Eagle Vision Racing. 13 points back to Improper Racing, and only 3 points behind them is Apex Eagle Button Box Racing. So those top 4 positions very much all still to play for. Parabola Racing Midnight, 35 points back of the leader. It's going to take a little bit of work for them to do to be able to bridge that gap, but this is only the second race, and there's plenty of time to go.
Now, for today's event, same as last time, it's a 35-minute sprint race, but there is one pit stop that will be included. They've got penalties to watch out for. There's a lot of paved runoff around here where they could fall afoul of that. So 13 incidents will get them a drive-through. 17 will actually fully disqualify them. They got to keep it within those track bounds. And there's the bonus points there at the bottom that they're able to accrue. Right now, they are just starting their first flyers here in qualifying, so we should see some times on the board to get an idea of how they fare over a single lap. And don't forget, after this, we've got more racing, more GT3 action with the GT3 AM series over at Motegi. So the racing does not end here after the checkered flag flies in Spielberg.
No, it does not. We are in store for a great, great night of racing all the way around. As you said, just waiting for some of those first drivers to get their times on the board right now. Just holding off here. There's not a lot of braking zones, Joe, only 9 corners, so you've really got to maximize each and every opportunity to get the best lap you can.
I believe this is the number 13 here that we've got on screen, John Stetzel, as he works his way up out of Remus and over the crest. You can see just how hilly it is all along this track. Lots of rises and falls in elevation. This fixed setup series is, of course, making it a little bit even between the drivers, as they don't have to worry about trying to find some magic setup. It's all the same car in the Ferrari, so there's no difference between the makes like a typical multi-make GT3 series. And as he continues to plunge downhill now into vert, it's weaving left-hander into a right-hander, just a bit of an S here, which will take you into the final 2 corners, which will continue to drop in elevation. It looks like Simkovic, in the meantime, the first one to put a time on the board, and he is immediately pipped by Eric Luke.
Yeah, Luke, not a newcomer to the series there, but Jonathan Wagner now able to go a little bit faster to the tune of about 0.3 of a second. See Paul Wildridge in 3rd, Spencer Semkowicz in 4th right now, and Bofel in 5th. So those are your leaders as of this moment, where we're still waiting for a lot of drivers to come around here. The other thing that we didn't really get to talk about, Joe, that looks like it's catching more than a few of these drivers out are those track limits. You've got to be very careful. A lot of paved runoff, very easy to step a tire over the line.
It absolutely is. I see Owen McLaughlin crossing. He puts down a 31.4 and gets himself into the top 10. Carmody is able to go up to 5th, so great run for the number 40. This is Wager that we see on screen, our pole sitter, who is now coming out of Rauch. 47 has a gap of about just shy of 0.3 of a second over Eric Luke. That's a pretty handy margin on a lap that's only 1:30.
That's a very handy margin, so Wagner's going to feel very good about what he's been able to do. Oh, that's one of those areas that you can very easily pick up one of those off tracks that we talked about, but he looks like he's able to get through there pretty easily. Waiting now for the next spate of cars to come across the line. Not seeing anybody going much faster here. Bofill able to jump his way up to third. Cristelli up into seventh. I'm seeing Patrick Cowgill in 15th.
Continue to watch from onboard wager, and it's not faster. He is about 7/1000ths slower, it looks like. Pim Luth on his second lap through a 31.6. That is good that he got that, because otherwise he'd been starting from the very back. Although unfortunately for him, he's only in 20th right now after that lap. So he'll have some hard work to do compared to what he qualified last round. Glover doing pretty good, putting himself in fifth.
Yeah, Glover will be very, very pleased with that. Here comes McLaughlin across the line. Is he able to improve? He is. That's a 13th place for Owen, so he'll be happy about that. Looked like Carmody not able to improve there as David Hebert comes across the line. I'm not sure if that was a out lap for him, but very slow compared to the rest of the field.
McCauley is going to be the next one across as we continue to watch Pim Luth, and the 15 looking like he sets his second lap at much faster, a 31.8. Now we'll put him into 23rd position. We're waiting on about 7 cars to set a time. I see Baron Hilton doesn't look like he's going to, as he's still sitting in pit lane. I think he'd be able to come out and set a time if he wanted, but he's waiting very long to be able to get one on the board. This right here is still the car of Randy Gross, or excuse me, Pim Luth, rather. That's on his third lap, so this one's not going to count regardless.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I have to say, I don't really understand the decision to not come out here. We've seen a couple of kerfluffles going down into the Niki Lauda curve that first corner, but it's a wide enough track that you're able to avoid pretty well. So I think starting in the back, not necessarily the best of strategy calls, but maybe Baron knows something that we don't, Joe.
And apologies, I said that the third lap wouldn't count. I'm so used to the 2-lap limit in official racing. They have 4 laps that they're able to do here today to try to put their fastest down. And this is Joseph Gerson we've got on screen as he comes down into the 4th corner, or actually, is this counted as the 5th corner? This is another one that's got a little bit wonky in terms of how they've numbered them.
Yeah, it really is. Not exactly the easiest to follow, but Gerson tracking here pretty quick by my standards. I think he'll be able to escape there, getting an off track in that little mini straightaway, really pushing the car around here.
Yeah, he's got more than a second up from what I'm seeing. I also see Jonathan Wager just behind him looking pretty quick as well. He's already got the pole. That could be him extending it depending on how this winds up. As Gerson comes down to the line, it's a 30.7 last time and a 30.9 this time. That's not going to do it. Wager goes better. He cracks into the 29.8s with that one. The first driver to do so, and now he's got 0.3 over Eric Luke.
He does indeed. Pim Luth able to get his way up to 23rd. We watch here for John Stetzel. Is he going to be able to go any faster? It doesn't look like he was able to on that, off by about 0.3 of a second. That's going to be his 4th lap, so he's going to call it a day. Looking back here to Joe McCauley, currently back down in the order right now in 28th as Ficadenti goes up to 8th.
Oh, and McLaughlin goes to 14th as well, improving. Looks like Deweese goes quicker on his final lap to a 31.9. He's still going to be well towards the back of the field. McCauley now coming around onto A1, last corner, bringing you to the front stretch, sitting down in 28th. Let's see if this is going to be enough as he crosses the line. 33.1 will not do it.
Yeah, not quite able to get up to that time. Here goes Bofill around in 3rd as of right now. I think he's already completed 4 laps, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get this one in or not, but we'll keep an eye on it regardless. It's going to be slow no matter what.
30 seconds left, so anybody that wants a time and really's got to hustle from here because they don't get to finish their hot laps. Baron Hilton will set one. It's a 32.5. That's going to put him all the way back in 32nd, so that really doesn't help him all that much. He starts just about where he would have in the end. I see Evans coming to the line and he's got just a couple seconds. Good enough for a 32.4. Actually bumps Baron Hilton by a spot.
All right, as we watch here, Carmody, he's currently in 9th as of right now, hoping to get a little bit of improvement if he can. He's not going to make it. He's going to pull off into the pits because that is qualifying done, Joe.
It is. So our grid is set, and it's Jonathan Wager taking another pole. Eric Luke will start from second as Rafael Bofil will be in third. Simkovic is in fourth, followed by Wildridge in fifth, and Baron Glover in the sixth position. Stetzel starts P7, Ficcidenti in eighth, and Carmody, despite not setting a single practice time, came out in qualifying, put himself in a ninth. Gerson rounds out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it's going to be Brian Hoskins, followed by Alec Bergstrom, with David Cristelli and Owen McLaughlin lining up behind them. Oliver Hartley will be 15th, and to his outside, it'll be Stetsone Kara. Leif Helberg will be lining up in 17th, followed by Yannick Belivier. Then Neil Alexander will be 19th, followed by Blake Ziti in 20th.
21st is Peter Lee, then it is Randy Gross. After that in 22nd, Pim Luth, 23rd. Patrick Cowgill able to qualify 24th position. Tyler Gore in 25th. Then you've got Robert Rund and Charles Sumner, followed by Joe McCauley to his outside. Lawson Christie starts 29th, flanked by Jordan Walker.
In 31st, it's going to be Drew DeWeese, followed by Eric Evans. Baron Hilton lines up behind them in 33rd, followed by David A. Bear, with Mark Fillet and Luke Sutton bringing up the back of the field. Both of those last two drivers not setting a time.
Just about everybody lined up. They'll have a short pace lap, not quite the full thing, just about halfway, and they are running for 35 minutes out there. This is a track that has been used quite a bit in its short history here on iRacing. It has been heavily demanded by many, and I think it's lived up to the expectations quite well, as it certainly has been covered here on the channel multiple times in just a few months' time. But with this many cars on such a short track, it is longer than what we saw at Summit Point, but I have a feeling it's going to get clogged up out there pretty quick, DJ.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it is a wide open Formula One track, very, very wide across everything, but you try to funnel 3 or 4 cars down into the Niki Lauda curve and things can get very tight, very fast, Joe.
It can indeed. Wager, last time out, pretty much had control of the field for that race, stretching away to over 10 seconds in the end. Is he going to be able to show the same pace here today as we watch him on board prepping the car, getting ready to go? And that red and black number 47. Pace car is going to peel in and let him have control from here. There it goes. Will Wager go immediately, or is he going to try and check him up? He's going to go immediately. Green flag is out. It's a good jump. Looks like they're going to go single file amongst those top 4, but we got a challenge for 5th. As that is Baron Glover and Paul Wildridge, along with Ficcidenti, trying to take a look at things down into turn 1. Will this be cleaner than some of the races we've seen in other series under this first corner? So far, so good.
Everything looking relatively okay on the back. Jonathan Wagner starting to streak away into the distance. It's still a hornet's nest, though, from about 6th on back.
Ficcidenti is going to come up the inside of Wildridge, and Stetzel sneaks a spot past Gerson as well. They managed to all come out the other side. Oh, but we got a big pileup in the back. I think Stetsone Kara is unfortunately facing backwards. We'll get back to that in a little bit, see if we can get a replay.
Oh, almost a 2-for-1 move there happening in the back. Joseph Gerson getting very aggressive on the brakes. Continuing to follow here are leaders as they streak away into the distance. Now, all that squabbling in the back, Joe, is really and truly allowing this lead pack to just run away with things.
Oh, I think Blake Ziti is also in trouble. He's come to a standstill with Neil Alexander halted on the outside of Rauch. Not sure what caused that one either. 2 fairly decent incidents on the very first lap throughout the midfield, but their leaders have been clean and green as Jonathan Wager, Eric Luke, and Rafael Bofil will cross the line in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yes, they will. And we're going to go back and check out that replay, I believe, here in a second of that incident going up into Remus.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a moment as we continue to see whether any changes will be made amongst our front runners. Looks like they're starting to spread out a little bit. Here's the replay. And this is the initial start. Now, Setane is the one I know in that 444 that was suddenly facing backwards, had to wait patiently as everybody kind of picked their way around either side. And this happened into Remus, the second real braking zone on the track.
Well, you can see even there, Joe, Setane very, very aggressive, banging doors a little bit, going down into Niki Lauda curve. Now, as they rise up the hill here, this is where we're going to see that action. Kara in that black machine with the yellow mirrors. Oh, blinked a little bit. I think that threw some people out of whack. Looks like that was just a turn in and nowhere for everybody else to go behind.
So the Ford just kind of came to a halt on the track, and that's a bit of a blind corner. So a lot of drivers had to slow up and ease their way past. So we come back live now. It is still Wager about a second ahead of Eric Luke. They're getting ready to start lap 3. Rafael Beaufil has fallen back to nearly 2 seconds from Luke as well.
They have indeed, and this is a good battle starting to shape up here in the back. This is Joseph Gerson on Sean Carmody. You can see up ahead there, that's Ficadenti going very, very defensive, and John Stetzel smelled some blood in the water, tried to make a move around the outside, but didn't exactly work out.
Someone in the background, that's Bergstrom. The 66 just shot into the barrier. Did he get some help, or did he clip the curb? I think he just clipped the curb. No, I'm not seeing anybody near him on my screen. So his error of his own making certainly put him well down the order, and I have to imagine gave him quite a bit of damage as we continue to watch this absolute mess of cars coming down into Rauch. Wildridge ahead of Gerson and Carmody. Carmody's going to try around the outside. Don't think that's going to work, and it does not.
Behind him, Gerson was able to make it go there. Ooh, you can see Stetzel trying to get a little bit feisty up there as well. Riding on board with him. Wow!
Stetzel getting all over the back of Ficadenti, and he tries to stick his nose in once again. Drifts across the rear bumper. Thankfully doesn't make contact. His teammate Paul Wildridge starting to catch up because of that. After an attack, Stetzel might have to play defense instead.
Well, and it looked a little bit like Wildridge is playing defense there from the charging Joseph Gerson, who has also been brought into the mix of this. Now, this is on the last lap where we saw them space out a little bit. Doesn't quite look like that Stetzel's going to be able to get close to Ficadenti. Watch Joseph Gerson, though. That's really close from him. There's a defensive move going down to the inside. Big defensive move up there from Ficadenti. Nobody trying it. Oh, that's a spin out!
Oh, and he comes back into him. That's Wildridge, who got bumped from behind. I think a little bit of net code from Gerson under braking. Amazingly, Joseph able to keep it moving, but he's got to be seriously damaged after that. McLaughlin's going to get a spot, and I think looks like Carmody is going to get one as well.
Yeah, and Carmody almost trying to go for a 2-for-1 maneuver there on Joseph Gerson, but not able to do it. They're going to be side by side, as are Cristelli and Hoskins behind them, those two teammates. So it's a little bit of Noah's Ark 2x2 here going down into Schlossgold right now. Great on the brakes there for that is Sean Carmody.
Hoskins and Cristelli sorted out in favor of Hoskins, so he gets 11th position. This is all. Whoa, and off the racing line, Gerson goes wide. Not sure why. Is he slow maybe? Is the car struggling?
Hearing, Joe, that he may have some, he's got some damage on the front right, so that car not handling as well as he'd like it to. And David Cristelli, I think, knows it. He's going to try to go a little bit on the outside here. That's a tricky move going through Rint, but he's going to hang it out. And indeed, Joseph Gerson going to dive on into the pits and get what repairs he can done.
Wonder if he got the meatball flag and he is basically forced to try and get himself repaired. From there, I see, Paul Wildridge is off. Looks like he's spun on his own. So Fasaponti looks like He's in a nice little fight as well.
Focusing in here on the battle for P8 right now. That's Carmody trying to close in behind Owen McLaughlin. Joe, with all of these teammates in similar liveries and just how much they've been swapping back and forth, I don't know about you, but I'm having trouble keeping them all together.
Yeah, there's a lot of similar looking cars out there, unfortunately. So easy to get things mixed up. Watching McLaughlin continue to lead Sean down and around the corner. This is just inside that top 10 position. We're only about 8 minutes into this race, too, so a lot has happened in a very short period. For those that want a close fight at the front, by the way, it hasn't separated all that much. Luke is still within about 1.3 seconds of Jonathan Wager, so he's not losing time, but he's certainly not within striking distance.
Yeah, and Eric Luke right now does hold the fastest lap of the race at a 1:29.9. So he's certainly got a little bit of a margin over Jonathan Wager, but I don't know how well he'll be able to hold that out.
Yeah, we're watching the onboard of Luke here in our picture-in-picture as he continues to give chase. You can just see that tiny little speck that is Wager up in the distance. Around Lauda, Carmody continues to hound the likes of McLaughlin. They're starting to catch up to Stetzel in front of him, who had a little bit of a bobble in that corner, but not close enough. They're worried about each other. Carmody going to be able to get to the inside as they come up into Remus. Deep on the braking, and he is going to be through, is he? Oh, I thought McLaughlin will get the cut back, but he spins the wheels.
Yeah, spinning the wheels out of that corner, very, very easy to do, and it can cost you a lot of good speed down the main straight, or down this straightaway going down into Schlossgold. Is he going to think about a move there? I don't think so. They're going to stay line astern.
Ficadenti is going to try and fight with Stetzel, but Stetzel gets around the outside of that number 4. A brilliant move from the 13 car.
I'm really seeing some good moves here out of John today. He's got a lot of aggressiveness. We talked about it in the pre-show about just how angry you've got to be on the brakes. Being a late breaker here at the Red Bull Ring pays off in spades.
Especially in some of those tricky downhill sections where he managed to get this one done. So Stetzel back up into 6th. He started in 7th. That'll be a 1 position gain for him, just behind after managing to overtake McLaughlin. Carmody's already setting his sights on Mauro and is within half a second.
Yes, he is, and Carmody, another one of those cars that we have seen be very aggressive. I've got to say, I think for Ficadenti, he seems just a little bit erratic out on track. We've seen just some over-aggressive defense, I think, is the best way to put it. Coming down there, you see it again, diving down to that inside line. Now, I don't know if that's a little bit of a head fake to Stetzel in front of him, but moving across the track like that costs him some time. And there you see climbing the curbs on the exit of Remus. That's going to allow for Carmody to really catch up. He's going to tuck right up behind in the draft. He may have a move here going down into the corner.
There you see him on screen. The red and black Ferrari of Hoskins taking a little bit of a look. Same thing with Carmody. And nothing doing between any of them. No change amongst those just around the top 10. We hop on board now. I believe this is with Hoskins in the number 520.
And that's Owen McLaughlin right ahead of him that he's trying to keep up with. You can see Hoskins running a little bit more of a narrow line there through Verth. Now, that is going to cause a little bit more wear on the tires. He's not going to necessarily be able to carry as much momentum, but what it will do is it means he'll be better positioned to make the run through the next corner. And you saw that little give and take that happens. It looks like he's a little bit better under braking through those final 2 corners. Very impressed with Brian here. Very smooth on the wheel.
He's smooth, but he's got to be quicker than that if he wants to get this spot away from Owen. As they come now through Lauda. And see how little you can see over the crest for the cars, and then they speed away through a little valley, and it's back up the hill once again. We've seen some passes into Remus, not many though. And I don't think that Brian's gonna have a chance here. Maybe looking for the corner exit, a little bit wider off the turn for McLaughlin, but that's not gonna save him, as it seems like it's very good speed from the 520 machine.
Yeah, that 520 carrying some good stuff here. Now, here is that move that we've seen time and time again. He's going to dive out to the inside, tries to be later on the brakes. McLaughlin trying to hold that momentum around the outside. That is an on-camber corner, so you can get it done, but McLaughlin gets hung up on that rumble strip, and that's David Cristelli with the opportunistic move, saying, thank you very much, Owen, I'm going to try it. Owen tries to fight back, but doesn't make it work.
Cristelli nabs another one, 3 spots up from his grid position. One of the biggest chargers, though, is Joe McCauley from 28th to 15th, I'm seeing, and appropriately, the number 15 car.
Yeah, funny how those numbers work out there a little bit. We're used to seeing those colors, though, a little bit more on a bike rather than a car, but I do think they look pretty good on a Ferrari.
Absolutely. Coming down into Rint and Cowgill. Just kind of stalking him for the time being. They're pulling along Christie and File. I think, Gerson in there as well. So they're going to climb once again past the stands and the pits here on the front stretch into Lauda once more, taking a little more of that outside curb, trying to widen up the corner. Cowgill does his best, but his best will not get him out of 16th this time.
Yeah, he's going to have to stay put. Looks like there could be a little bit of action in the back if somebody's going to try to be a little bit later on the brakes, though everybody thinking about it, but they're going to stay in line, it looks like.
They're getting closer and closer to one another, though. And we're watching from 16th position here with Patrick Cowgill. As he watches just ahead to that red and white number 15. McCauley looks like he's starting to put a little bit more distance on this part of the course, so for some reason 31 just dropping back to about 0.6 of a second. He's also starting to lose Christie.
Yeah, he is starting to drop him a little bit, and Patrick, we've seen him in basically league after league here in the Precision Racing League, so doing a good job to keep up that pressure. See him in that picture-in-picture as they crest over the hill, headed down into Rint. Looks like he's gaining a little bit. Wider entry, though, into the corner. That'll help him carry momentum.
Ooh, look at this. As we see from the bumper of Cowgill, he's getting very close now. He dropped away for a brief moment, enough that McCauley is feeling like he has to go defensive. Coming up into the first corner, braking very deep, maybe too deep. I'm not sure he's going to make this one. Cowgill tries to cut underneath, but he finds his pace blocked at the apex.
Yeah, it's some good defensive driving there from McCauley, but I don't think Cowgill's done. Behind them, though, looks like we've got a side-by-side. That's Christian File fighting it out, and it looks like Drew DeWeese trying to maybe see if he can poke his nose into the equation. File's going to be able to get by, and here comes DeWeese.
So as they start to accelerate away, looks like the driver Gerson is not going to be close enough to get involved, but Christie and File down into route, close but not close enough. File in the blue car with the red rims keeps Christie at bay.
Yeah, doing a really good job here. I'm seeing a lot of great defensive driving, Joe. It's something that's we're not really all that used to seeing. It's normally pretty straightforward passes here, but guys do a very good job of putting their cars where they need to be as hard to pass as possible.
And this group has been quite stuck together for a couple laps now. Keeping an eye up at the front just in case, but I don't think we're getting anything coming back together. It's up to 3.2 seconds from P1 to P2. P3, though, look at this. Simkovic has been creeping forward. It's now down to half a second. Phil has got his hands full.
Yes, he does. He's going to have to watch out here a little bit. Simkovic doing a very, very good run. He was only about 1/10 of a second faster on that last lap, but he's been able to put in the quick ones when it counts. A little far back to make anything work here through the infield section, but Spencer in that black and multi-color car really driving well.
We're getting close to that halfway mark as well, so will we see anybody try to cut this one perfectly in half on the pit strategy? Remember, they need to stop in for fuel at least once during these 35 minutes. So maybe that could give some of these guys that are stuck in position a chance to try and sneak through. Speaking of which, I think McCauley and Cowgill are finally going side by side. They're coming around through the infield portion of the track. Cowgill able to finally get that one done.
That was a great pass from Cowgill going through the outside of Rauch. I really got to give him credit. You normally don't see that move working out all the time, but behind them, it does look a little bit like Mark Thiele. Remember, we saw the move he did on Lawson Christie. He's starting to get involved. That's a little bit of a drop back there from Joe McCauley. And again, here comes Mark Thiele. Does he have any legs to make the move up into Niki Lauda? He thinks about it. Thiele going a little bit defensive there. McCauley trying to hold it. Is this a move on the outside?
It is, but is he going to be able to hold on to it? It looks like McCauley. Oh, and now he gets back into line. I thought for a second he was going to be able to stick with it. Maybe he could. Yeah, he's going to poke his nose. He'll give it another shot. Tries to get side by side. Doesn't have the overlap. And, of course, File just chops him off.
Yeah, File doing a good job. There's a lot of speed in that blue Ferrari, which is not the sentence you hear every day. But working their way around here, we now ride on board with Joe McCauley. Looking up ahead, I got to think File's going to have something to say here to Patrick Cowgill in about a lap or so.
See, I think if you really want to make someone short circuit, you make it British Racing green. That would be odd looking, to say the least.
My brain hurts just thinking about that, Joe.
On board with McCauley, sizing up File, wanting to try and get that one back. He's got to watch out. It's Lawson Christie not too far behind him that you could see briefly there and the onboard screens. I see Brian Hoskins going to be one of our first to duck into pit lane, kicking now off those. So will anybody else follow him in? None from this group, it seems.
No, I think a lot of people here are doing what we tend to see in the GT series, trying to run as long as possible. Oh, we've got a little battle here shaping up for P7 with Carmody and Ficadenti as they are side by side coming out of Remus.
Carmody down the inside. Not seeing it quite on screen, but the 40 has just about got him out, breaks him into the corner. And it looks like he's going to be able to claim the spot as Morrow has no answer.
Didn't, although there may be a little bit of damage to both of those cars as they were banging doors coming down that straightaway. Joe, let's check this out.
Absolutely. By the way, the one that we saw on screen just as we went to that was File managing to get by Cowgill as well. And there you see the great over-under from Carmody that just got him the launch he needed. And from there, it was a drag race all the way to the braking zone, which Carmody eventually won.
Yep, just that straight aggressiveness on the brakes, like we talked about earlier, being able to save the day there for Carmody. You can see already trying to pull a little bit of a gap. He's got it up to about a half a second right now, but it's Ficadenti closing up a little bit during braking. Let's see if he can keep some speed up coming out of Niki Lauda. Oh, that was Ficadenti getting a little bit sideways.
Yeah, and that curb does not play nice, no matter what car you're driving, as they are very tall. We jump a little bit farther back to McCauley and Christie. Christie in the dark Ferrari. McCauley, or excuse me, that's Gerson, rather. McCauley's headed into the pits. And the 21... Ooh, that was a great exit. I think he's got a good shot at this.
I think he does too. Deweese trying to just wait until the last possible minute to jump out into that air. That's a defensive move from Lawson Christie. He's going to force Deweese the long way around. Little bit of a push out there, but not going to be able to do it.
They've got a lap. Oh, excuse me. That is Gerson's a lapped car, so that's not for position, unfortunately. Now, behind them, it is for position between Deweese. You mentioned him. That's Luke Sutton that's going to try and have a go. And the green and white sending it down the inside, given just enough space, finds the traction. Clean as you like. The 38 gets into 17th spot.
And that's a little bit of a try to fight back there from Drew Deweese, but he just couldn't quite get it going enough. very, very hard to do, although we've seen it a couple of times. But Joe, I believe our leader is in.
Yes, Wager has hit pit lane. Stetzel follows him in. Cristelli does as well. Starting to see the dominoes fall. What will this do for Wager? Luke was a little far back, I think 3 to 4 seconds behind when these stops happen. Question is, will Luke be able to pump in enough laps that he could maybe get within range after the pit stops? Could he even jump him? That'd be a tall ask, but not impossible.
Well, Joe, the Red Bull Ring here is a little bit of one of those circuits that kind of a little bit is treated like an oval, that you kind of do want a drafting partner. You'll be able to pick up a lot of speed, and if you come out all by your lonesome, it could come back to hurt you if you're not able to pass cars quickly that are a little bit slower than you. So we'll have to see if Luke's strategy or if Wager's strategy play out better. Watching here, Patrick Cowgill, though, on your screen. Remember, File was able to get past him, and that gap growing a little bit.
Cowgill giving us one of our onboards here today. He rides in 13th, has gained a couple spots from those pit stops that just occurred. Drivers popping in, coming out behind him, so he'll have to give that back a little later once he makes his scheduled visit to pit lane. Love these onboards and being able to really watch the driver in action and see how they behave actually in person. I feel like you get a much better feeling of what kind of driver they are actually watching them physically.
Yeah, and we're looking at Patrick's position and the way that he is driving the car. It's a little bit more of an upright position than we're used to seeing a lot of times. There's a lot of shoulder movement that is going into the control on that wheel as Patrick's going to dive on into the pits. Now, what that's going to do for him in terms of using that shoulder a little bit more is it'll give him a little bit more force coming around the corners. He'll be able to actually steer stronger, but he may lose a little bit of feeling on it and not be able to make as fine-tuned of adjustments.
A lot of drivers in now. My screen is absolutely lighting up. Only Luke, Glover, and McLaughlin have stayed out amongst the top 3. I see Setne Kara also staying out. Looks like Blake Ziti also keeps going. So very few cars continuing on into lap 16. Luke going at least a couple laps longer than Jonathan Wager, but I haven't seen Wager hit much in the way of traffic, so I don't think he's going to get slowed up by that. And this is actually Luke on screen right now, heading into pit lane.
All right, so that's 2 laps longer that he was able to do. This is Glover. Glover, excuse me, as he is now coming on in as well. I think this may be the end of the fuel window. Owen McLaughlin, one of the few other drivers that was not that was able to make it work here. Is he going to come in? Yes, he is.
So Jonathan Wager now comes back around and looks like he's going to reclaim that top position. Luke is rolling, but he's got to get past the cones. Actually, is this going to be close? This is going to be very close. Oh my goodness, Luke had a fantastic stop. He doesn't have as much speed, but he gained a ton of time. Wager was 4 seconds slower in his stall. Here comes Eric Luke. His hopes of a win have revitalized.
They have indeed, and now Luke's going to be able to tuck up behind in the draft. That's Neil Alexander and Eric Evans. Some lap traffic right ahead. That could play into the equation here a little bit. We ride on board with Eric Luke. He's chasing down that 47. He'll be in the draft. This is exactly where he wants to be.
This worked out beautifully for Eric Luke because we had a slower stop for Beau Phil as well, so there's nobody behind to worry about. It's just him and the leader in the final 9 minutes.
Yeah, this is going to be really close, and now for Wager, he's got to see if he can start to pull away a little bit. Remember when I said, though, that Eric Luke does have a faster outright time here. Once again, there's lap cars right ahead, Neil Alexander and Eric Evans. That could throw a real wrench into the works here if Wager catches them at the wrong time.
Up and over the crest once again. A little bit of lap traffic now. Neil Alexander, nice job pulling out of the way. Then they're going to catch Eric Evans. So are they getting into the thick of the traffic from here? Is this going to affect it?
It very well could, especially if they catch him through the infield section. That's about the worst case scenario for Wager in front.
Last time Wager was able to pull away from Luke on raw pace, and it's starting to look like he might be able to do the same again. 0.7 of a second after they were only split by about half a second before. Up in front, Eric Evans is not immediately pulled over. Oh, and he might be checking up Wager just a little bit through the corner. This is where Wager really needs that 30 car to pull off to the side and just lift a little bit. There he goes.
There it is, getting out of the way, although that did halter Wager's momentum just a little bit. But if we look out of that rear wing of Eric Luke, you can see Wager pulling away.
Already got it up to 0.8 of a second. Jonathan is starting to look like the man to beat this season with just great pace pretty much anywhere you stick him. But he's got to get those pit stops under control. He just about lost the lead with how long he was in there.
Yes, he did. And Joe, this series in particular, or this league in particular, Precision Racing League, we have seen so many times races won and lost in the pits, whether through a penalty, whether through a drive-through, whether through missing your box. So gotta make sure that every minute you spend out on track, even those in the pit lane, you are, as they call it, Penske perfect.
Looking a little bit farther down the field now that this is pulling apart from one another, I see this P7 battle has closed in amongst 4 cars. Cristelli leads Hoskins, McLaughlin, and Ficadenti. And we've seen some of these fighting before, but that was before the pit stops. Now that they have to do it on track, is this going to up the ante?
I think it might. We saw there, though, that was, I believe, McLaughlin and Ficadenti running very wide coming through the final 2 corners. Ficadenti making a move to the inside. I'm not sure what that is. I think that may be a little bit of a head fake there to Owen McLaughlin, just seeing if he could get that number 90 to bite. Good exits there. This may be advantage McLaughlin as they climb the hill.
Hoskin holds the inside. He leaves a little bit of a door open. McLaughlin could take it. He decides not to. Once again, a slight defense from Brian, just making sure to shut the door slightly so it's harder for him to try and make a sneaky move. McLaughlin seemed to have gotten a little bit of that exit curb as he comes off slow.
Yeah, and we talked about that. The curbs around here can really, really bite you. It's not nearly as bad as driving around here in an open wheeler where the curbs can actually break your suspension. The springs and suspension bits on these new Ferrari Evos, a lot more sturdy, but they can certainly upset the car just enough to give you a little bit of a problem. Narrower line there for Owen McLaughlin. Looked like he had a little bit of a look on the inside, but lost some speed on the exit of route.
Yeah, I noticed that immediately, too, that it seemed like Owen took a completely different line from Hoskins, but they came out about even the way they came in, so glad to see a corner where it's more than just that single file through there if you want to try a few different methods. Hoskins starting to look like he's catching Cristelli in the second half of this lap. Oh, about a poor exit off of A1 right when he was just starting to gain. We'll scupper that.
Yeah, and he's going to be thankful that the pit straight here isn't a little bit longer as McLaughlin able to close back in. Now let's see how they handle coming through the Niki Lauda curve. Again, a little bit more of a narrow entry there for McLaughlin. I think, Joe, that may just be a little bit more of his driving style, preferring an earlier apex to carrying a little bit more speed and taking a later line.
I think you might be right on that one. We're having very few laps to decide this fight, though, so if somebody's going to make a move, they're going to have to do it soon. Once again, it seems like Hoskins struggling a little bit on those corner exits, and McLaughlin feels a bit of the draft. He continues to follow in the tire tracks of that 520, just trying to steal as much slipstream as he can, still not netting him a chance to attack, but some more bobbles, and maybe he will.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what he may have been doing on taking some of those early lines. That's a little bit more of a traditional line there from McLaughlin. That's a wider entry in there for Hoskins ahead of him, spreading out a little bit here through Verth. Everybody trying to keep it together. Let's see if Hoskins is able to avoid that same mistake he made on the exit of Rindt this time around.
Yeah, remember, out of A1, he just seemed to fail to get a good exit. Once again, he's quite strong coming in. And then off the corner, doesn't seem to have it mastered the same way that Cristelli does. Behind him, Owen McLaughlin almost looked like he was going to be vulnerable to Ficadenti, but the 4 is not close enough to give it a go. If he sees one more like that, I'm pretty sure he will. Almost all of them climbing up and over that curb, trying to use every inch of the track today.
Yeah, they certainly are. Got to watch out a little bit for undercarriage damage on that. But Ficadenti, here he comes, looking to the inside. Is he going to try to outbrake McLaughlin? No, he's not. He's going to stick it back in line. I love this out of Morrow here, Joe. He is really and truly trying to play a head game with McLaughlin in front of him, just making that Ferrari as big as possible in McLaughlin's rearview mirrors.
Certainly surprised at how tough it's been for some of these drivers. As wide goes Hoskins, but everybody behind him goes wide, including Ficadenti, who catches the dirt. He spins out. He's going to lose multiple positions as he waits to get back on. Hellberg and Hartley both scream by.
I'm going to take a little bit of the blame for that one as a commentator's curse, but let's watch this on replay. See Ficadenti just coming in. Yep, just had a little bit of understeer coming out there. Got those left side tires off into the Astro and Kitty Litter. That's a one-way ticket to a spin.
One of the four now gone. We're going to watch one more time. Let's see how much of that dirt he gets into. How far off does it look from this perspective? Doesn't really look like all that much. It's a tiny mistake.
It is a minuscule mistake here, Joe, and but that's what can happen. This part of the track is sort of the old school portion of the track. There used to be gravel runoffs up around the other sides of it, but those have been taken out because of the bikes that run here. But here comes McLaughlin. After all of that, he may finally have his time to take on Hoskins.
He's around the outside, though. Hoskins goes deep. Is it too deep? I think it is. Over, under for Owen McLaughlin. Very smooth, but it's not done. Red versus blue as they continue to climb their way towards the next corner. Inside to Owen McLaughlin, but he's got to give himself a little bit of a wider entry or else he's going to give this one up. Finally, he drifts across just in time, and now he gets the spot.
Able to hold that in there. I was waiting to see how that was going to shape out, but a very, very heads-up driving from Owen McLaughlin. A lot of patience proved out and a great job to do it. But, Joe, I believe our leaders are on their white flag lap.
They are indeed. Wager just came across the line. You can see Luke has already fallen to about 1.7 seconds back behind him. So he continued to bleed time, just not a whole lot. Luke needs to find another gear if he wants to truly challenge Jonathan. But otherwise, I am quite impressed the way the 709 has a never say die attitude today.
Very much so. You can never, ever let that die because you don't know what can happen. Wager could have made a mistake. Luke doing a great job to just keep up as hard as he can. Look at the gap that they've got. Joe, that's 17 seconds all the way back to Raphael Bofill.
Impressive stuff. Yeah, the 786 just had no response to those two who were the class of the field here today. And there you see the 47 of Jonathan Wager. He put it on pole. He's been leading almost every lap, other than when he came in for a little bit of an earlier pit stop than his rivals. And since then, it's been smooth sailing. Lost a little bit of time in the pit stops. Had a small threat from Luke behind him, but he was cool the whole way. Jonathan Wager out of Rinse and into A1 to the line. The 47 takes his second victory in a row here in the Ferrari Challenge.
Indeed, looking like, as you said earlier, he's going to be the car to beat. Eric Luke going to be able to come across the line in second. Following here, P3, Raphael Bofill, now coming out of that final corner to take a well-deserved final step on the podium.
And I think Oliver Hartley may have run out of fuel as he's falling down the order. But look at Cristelli in the 009, up from 13th position to get himself a 7th place finish. So McLaughlin chases him home, just doesn't have the legs to get him. Hoskin winds up in 9th. I think that might be most of our battles. I'm checking to see. I think there's a little bit of one for 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Yeah, it looks like here that there may be a little bit of it, but overtaking opportunities very, very fleeting here in these last couple of corners, Joe.
Yeah, that's going to be led by Deweese. Rund. Oh, is Rund out of fuel? He's slow. He tries to cover off. Is Macaulay going to get him? No. Right at the line. Not sure if that was a mistake. I think it was, because ruined is back up to speed. But that certainly gave us some excitement. And I think, is that a penalty? That must be a penalty, which means that car, who is that? Luke Sutton. Looks like he's going to get demoted a number of spots here at the end. But let's go through our finishing order here today. Now that we have completed round 2, Jonathan Wager was our winner. Eric Luke came home in second place with Raphael Bofil in third. It's Baron Glover there, P4, with John Stetzel in fifth, and Carmody. A lot of action out there today, taking P6. Cristelli was behind him in seventh. McLaughlin up to eighth as Hoskins finishes ninth. Leif Hellberg also got himself quite a few spots from 17th to 10th.
In 11th, it was Mauro Ficadenti after that spin that he had with Yannick Belleville in 12th. Mark File in 13th, followed by Lawson Christie and Drew DeWeese in 15th. Robert Rund was 16th with Joe McCauley behind him and Charles Sumner in 18th. Baron Hilton having a great rise through the field after not setting a qualifying time. And Jordan Walker rounds out your top 20.
Blake Ziti finished 21st. Setane Kara was 22nd, and Sutton was the last one on the lead lap in 23rd. Hartley 24th, Alexander 25th, and Evans in P26. Then it's Gross, Cowgill, and Bear. The last one's one lap down. Gerson and Simkovich were 2 laps down. Wildridge actually finished, but he was a full 7 laps down. Everybody else beyond that was unfortunately a DNF today. So there were still some victims of what is a difficult track out here in Spielberg. I do believe we have our second place finisher, Eric Luke, ready to talk to us. He certainly had a whiff of the win himself. And Eric, you came close, but it looked like in the end it was just not enough pace to try and challenge Jonathan. Still, you had to have at least a flicker of hope in there after the pit stops with how close you came to him.
I wasn't expecting to pull out that close behind him when we were coming around. Jonathan has insane pace. I knew I wasn't going to match him at the start. I was hoping that I would be able to leapfrog him and at least try to hold him off on the final laps, but he came out side by side, and of course he had the better drive, me coming out of the pits, and he was just a machine. There was no way I was going to keep close to him.
Even still, this is definitely a closer finish than what you experienced back at Summit Point. It's 2 P2s in a row. I got to think at some point you're probably going to be sick of those. So is there anything you feel like you can do to close that gap?
I'm messing with the brake bias, my brake pressures, everything else, trying to find some more speed out of the vehicle. With the fixed setups, there's obviously you can't really tune anything other than your brake bias. So it's just a matter of practice and getting the laps in.
Well, chaos and randomness sometimes is what some drivers need to have luck go their way to snag a win. And you've got Lime Rock Park next time, so are you eyeing that?
Unfortunately, I will be in the North Georgia mountains on vacation, so I'll be missing next week's race and have to constitute that as my drop week. So good luck to all the boys there. Hopefully somebody can take it to Jonathan and give him a run for his money. I couldn't do it this go around, so hopefully somebody else can.
Sorry that we won't be able to see you, but looking forward to having you the rest of the season. Anybody you want to thank for this P2?
Yeah, thanks to you guys. You guys put on a great show. As always, love rewatching the broadcast. To our sponsors, Apex Button Box, facebook.com/Apex Button Box, and simracingmadness.com. Good group of racers there in the sim community. So thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
That was Eric Luke, our second place finisher. Looks like the only interview we're going to have here today for round 2 of the PRL Ferrari Challenge. So we are going to head to a quick break. Remember, we've got more racing to come. As you can see, we're off to Japan for Twin Ring Motegi, so stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. Cars, as you can see behind me, we did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. Let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're going to give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always, if you have questions, you can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be a racing customer.
Well, we return here in Japan at Twin Ring Motegi. This is a track that doesn't see quite as much use in a lot of iRacing leagues. So why don't we head to our track guide to familiarize ourselves with this place? Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. Welcome to Twin Ring Motegi. This well-known Japanese racing facility located roughly 2 hours north of Tokyo gets its name from the fact that it has both an oval and a road course that can be run. But a unique feature of this track is that instead of having a roval layout, the road course is entirely separate from the oval circuit. On top of that, drivers have 3 different road courses to choose from in the form of the Grand Prix, East, and West circuits. While not totally devoid of elevation change, the track is relatively flat. What distinguishes the place the most is the combination of plenty of long straights heading into heavy braking zones. This means that passing opportunities abound. With it being built in 1996, it has most of the qualities you'd expect from a modern road course, including flat curbs, a fair amount of runoff, and multiple pit complexes. Oddly, because of the oval, the track includes night lighting for a portion of the road circuit. Though there isn't much notable about most of the turns, one of the more distinctive corners is the final chicane on the Grand Prix course. Leading out of a tunnel that returns you to the oval infield, it's kinked on entry and it tightens greatly at the second apex. This makes pushing the limits of this corner extremely tough, and it often catches drivers out. Though international series such as IndyCar and MotoGP have held rounds at the track, today it is mainly used for local open wheel and GT series. Still, the one-of-a-kind experience offered to drivers and fans at this circuit is sure to keep people coming back for years to come.
Well, as we get ready to watch this GT3 AM field tackle the twin ring of Motegi, we'll walk you through a little bit of what to expect here if you weren't lucky enough to tune in last night to the GT Pros around here. This circuit tends to be a little bit tricky to get a pass done on. We've seen some action going down into the turn 1 and 2 complex and into the 3-4 complex, but the truth of the matter is the straightaways aren't necessarily long enough to really get anything to work out quite as you would expect it to do so. The best place to get an overtake really is down into turn 11, that awesome right-hander after the long backstretch going down the hill. But even then, it gets very, very tricky for these drivers to get that right. And we're going to have to see how it will all play out for them here tonight. I think more than anything, this will be a battle of not making mistakes. If you can force the driver in front of you to make a mistake, that'll be the way to do it. But speaking of minimizing those mistakes, we'll jump over to the live action because cars are out on track right now for qualifying. It's currently Rafael Vieira ahead of Nathan Nicholson and Kevin Norris in your top 3.
Yes, indeed. And it's been quite a bit of fun out here to watch the drivers last night at this track. So wonder if they'll have learned anything from that one, as they certainly will have to take into account the pitfalls that come with this place, the difficulty in overtaking, and certainly trying to get by other cars at a track that looks like it has plenty of stuff, but for some reason just does not.
Yeah, very, very difficult to be able to get anything done here. But as we watch these drivers heading around, Vieira and Nicholson still holding off the top. Malbran and Reedy are on top of the charts. There is that final corner, that'll turn 11 rather, that I talked about coming into this very tricky chicane. Always very easy to make a mistake through there as we watch Vieira coming to the line right now. Is he going to be able to go any faster? No, but Vincent Trepanier is going to be able to pop his way to the top of the charts.
Great stuff from Vincent. He was one of our quick drivers last week, having taken that victory, of course, and leading the points championship. Kevin Norris was pretty close at the line, so can he try and topple him and take that bonus point away?
as we've seen a couple of times, that bonus point is very difficult to get going at points. Trepanier doing a good job to be able to stay ahead. There is Nicholson down in fourth. It looks like Sepulveda, who is in third, pulling back into the pits.
Sepulveda is going to have to abort that lap, unfortunately. So we'll try and see if that will come back around.
Riding on board here with the 74 of Kevin Norris as he makes his way out of the very important turn 10. Now it's the hairpin leading on to the back straightaway. You've got to absolutely nail that. And there you can see Kevin in the bottom of your screen. Hard breaking down into that turn 11. You can use a little bit of weight of the car to slow you down, but you still got to be very, very careful not to make a mistake. They're very easy to lock up the front tires.
Love seeing these VR users on board. Currently looking here as they come down the front stretch and down into the very swift first corner. Long double apex right-hander that is always tough to nail both of those apexes just right. And then you need such speed coming down towards turn 3.
Yeah, you really do need it, as Kevin there is going to call it a rest. He is in second as of right now, and so that will be a good lap for him. His time done here, 2 minutes to go in qualifying. As remember, with the single car setup, they have got to cross the line at that 2 minutes. They're not going to be able to finish their hot lap, so very crucial for all of these drivers to try to get the fastest laps that they can down. Vieira, it looks like, not going to be able to make a push here. As we follow on screen, there they go as they get across. Waiting to see if any other drivers are able to set some fast times here. Looks like the next one across the line is the car on your screen. This is Devin Horvath. So he is coming right now through that final chicane sequence. Joe, looks like he may be a little up on that time, but let's see what he's got. He's going to cross the line. Horvath not looking like he's going to be able to go any faster.
Unfortunately not. So as we start to get down into the last stages of this qualifying session, those few that have laps left have really got to get on it.
Yes, they sincerely do. It looks like that is one of the Ferraris out on track, I believe. That's the 21 machine as he's going to cross over the line. Doesn't look like an improvement there. Excuse me, that was the old pits there. So we are now watching that 21 as he makes his way around, trying to get through that final tricky chicane. Should be able to jump up the field pretty well here if he's able to get a quick time in. Comes out of that tricky final chicane. There we go, coming to the line. Is this going to be an improvement for the 21? It is not.
So 11 seconds left. It's time to head to the starting grid. And up at the top of it, Vincent Trepanier has once again bested everybody as Kevin Norris will start from Nathan Nicholson will start from second position. Kevin Norris will be P3, actually. Vieira will be in fourth, as Sepulveda could do no better than fifth. To his outside, it'll be Mal Braun, as Devin Horvath is seventh. Rady will be in a P8. Robbie Campbell starts ninth, and Kwok Nin with a great qualifying in 10th.
Nick McLaughlin will line up in 11th, followed by Jean-Claude Langlois in 12th. Ethan Tavidas will be 13th, followed by Nico Zanadakis in 14th. Alexander Breton will be lining up to the inside of row 8, followed by Gabriel Moreau in 16th. Marc-Andre Desjardins will be 17th. To his outside, it's Claude Belvay with Jorge Adonis Villegas in 19th and Philippe Magnan in 20th.
21st goes to Matt Hilton with Robertson in 22nd. Then it's Rhines P23. You've got Pavolano in the 24th spot. Anderson Schmidt inside of the next row. Scardua in 26th and Morales in 27th. To his outside, it's Paul Espina, Bowie Suin in 29th, and Chet Miller rounding out your top 30.
In 31st, it's going to be Richard Swindells, followed by Gabriel Neone with Michael Kwiatkowski in 33rd. Don Bowden, 34th, followed by Nathan Miller and Jason Burmeister in 36th. David Morris, the last of your cars to set a qualifying time with Mikhail Plord in 38th, not setting a time out there in his number 69 machine.
Just like we saw last time, early morning, so it is quite cool out there on the track. Drivers will certainly want to do their best to warm the tires up in what short pace lap they have here. But also, like last night, it's a very full field. Now, before, the field was separated by very little, whereas this one has about 5 seconds between P1 and the last driver to set a time, David Morse. We didn't see a whole lot of lap traffic before. Will we get it this time?
I was just thinking that could be a bit of an equalizer out here, Joe. As you said last night in that GT Pro Series, not a whole lot of passing, but with those slower cars there in the back, I think that could create some opportunity for some leading drivers when they come across those lapped cars to maybe use a driver or two as a pick to try to get on by. Certainly be something we'll have to keep an eye for as this race develops.
So in the Ferrari Challenge, we saw Wager go back-to-back wins. Will Trepanier repeat that feat? We'll find out pretty soon, because we're getting ready for the green flag. 40 minutes of racing here for the GT3 AM series, and Trepanier is on it. Green flag is out. It's a decent start, but Nicholson was not caught napping as he takes a look to the inside, is going to try and outbrake him, but there's not a lot of braking into this first corner, and he is going to have to slot in behind everybody else now coming through this first set of double right-handers, and I'm not seeing any incidents, so this is looking pretty good.
It is Nicholson poking his nose out to the inside yet again, but not close enough to make a move. But that move may allow for Kevin Norris to get a little bit feisty. Norris looking for a better exit there coming out of turn 4. He's certainly going to be able to try to tuck behind to the draft. We look out the back of the rear wing of Vincent Trepanier.
Diving to the outside, Norris tries to brake late, but can't get to the apex. Nicholson says no. He'll retain that second place. He is being fiercely fought for this one in the very first lap of the race.
He is indeed there. Norris again trying to go to the outside. Nicholson just holding that line the best that he can. I see some smoke in the back. Is Nicholson going off? Able to maintain into that position at the best that he could, but that's going to be Kevin Norris able to move ahead, and now Rafael Vieira. Oh, he spins! He spins out, Joe!
Oh, Nicholson twice in one lap with mistakes, but it's the second time that's more costly. He falls all the way to 13th. Norris up to second. Sepulveda into third. That battle looks like it is over now, at least for the time being, unless Nicholson has a whole bunch of speed to try and chase those guys down. And look up at the front, how far ahead Trepanier is. It looks like, I was trying to figure out, it was Tavitas who I saw stopped before. You mentioned some smoke earlier. And he and Moreau were involved in something a little farther back. We'll try and check that out soon enough. So multiple drivers having issues, and my goodness, has Kevin Norris bounced back. Trepanier was up to 0.6 of a second. It's come down to 0.4 of a second and is trying to challenge.
He is indeed, and Joe, I also just went back and took a quick look at the replay with Nicholson. I unfortunately think he got a little bit of help from Norris behind. It looked like a little bit of a netcode contact as, whoa, we're almost 3 wide in the back there for P3, and that's multiple cars into the wall!
All 3 of them off track. Vieira is in there. Looks like Horvath is off. And that is Sepulveda as well. Front runners are falling left and right. What is happening?
This honestly looks like a wet Formula One race here, Joe, with just the predicted winners falling out of the order very, very hard. Let's go back and check out this replay.
One driver loving that incident was Nicholson because he gained 3 spots back right there. And yeah, a slow exit for one of them. And a little bit of flashing lights. Are we going to go 3 wide? Is that what caused it? No, it was still 2 wide at that moment. Oh, and the third car in line was just an innocent victim in all of it.
Yeah, and I believe that was Vieira that was the one that cut across there. You can see it again, the flashing of the screen. We're going to check this out in slow motion. Watch that move across the track. Just wasn't clear. That's Vieira making that move in the L1 eSports machine, and that sends him and I believe Horvath just boom boom, right into the wall.
Oh, and we might want to go to the leaders because Norris is making a move. Caven wants to try and take the lead back away from Trepignet, and he manages to go by through some of the last corners as the 74 is your new leader.
That was a heads-up play using that heavy braking zone down into turn 11 to make the move, but Trepignet looking to fight back here. He's going to have to go around the long way of turn 1, but that is possible. They're into a drag race here. Norris to the inside. Trepignet falling back a little bit, trying to get a better exit out of the corner and try to make this too wide again, going down this second straight.
He does get the better exit, but look at Caven cover that inside once again, trying to make life hard on the Canadian. But Trepignet is mighty on the binders. He starts to come back, too mighty though, as he struggles off the exit, and Caven finally solidly has that P1.
And I got to tell you something there, Joe. That was an impressive recovery there from Trepignet. I thought for sure that car was going to be off into the kitty litter, but he was able to gather everything back under him and keep going in very impressive fashion.
Yep, still only half a second back. They had gapped Malbron by a huge margin. They gave up some of that time and all that side-by-side action, and now it's back to single file for them. Malbron up from 6th position here to 3rd, and Rieti behind him is up from 8th to 4th, so a number of drivers are loving all the chaos in front of them. Others, not so much.
Indeed. Malbron trying to come back on that, but we're going back to the car in 6th. This is Jean-Claude Langlois, as he is involved in a little bit of a chase here up to Robbie Campbell in the Ferrari.
Also got Kwoknin not too far behind them. Robbie Campbell ahead, gets a great exit coming down the support pits. So he's going to start to stretch away, and that gap, unfortunately, not going to be within reach for Jean-Claude. 41's going to have to try again later.
Yeah, not quite able to do that, and that shows a little bit more of what we saw last night. Drivers just not quite close enough to really make the pass going down into turn 11. You've got to be very, very aggressive on the brakes. Speaking of that, I think we may want to jump back up to the front. Vincent Trepignet looking like he was going to have a little bit of an attack there on Caven Norris. He is very mighty going through that first couple of corners.
DJ, I wonder if this is because of last night, as he does take a peek into turn 3, if the drivers saw how tough it is to make those passes, and they're trying to do it here early in the race when those opportunities open, but just making too much of a little chance.
I think that's part of it. I also think it may be because of the car choice we're seeing out here. Now, last night we talked a little bit about how the Porsche kind of worked well around here with the rear engine, rear-wheel drive. You can throw it around a little bit more, get that rear end to slide a little bit. A lot of the drivers out here today in the BMW GT3, that car's a little bit more planted all the way around, a little bit more of a easier car to drive, not taking away anything from these drivers' talent, but it's not one that's going to step out on you. And so I think with that in mind, that there's not exactly that fear of going for the lunge in the BMW, that may be what's playing into some of the aggression here today.
Absolutely, and we watched on board with Norris there for a while. Our leader, who covers all the way down to the inside. Trepignet just stays within the slipstream. He's not close enough to attack for the time being. Vincent maybe also could be thinking about another thing we saw last race, which is pit strategy. We saw a big jump for second place over the course of the pits, so could Vincent maybe just play patient, save some fuel behind him, and then get back in front once he can leapfrog?
It's certainly a potential that he could do, but with some of the aggression I've seen out of Vincent recently here, I think he wants to be in the lead. I think he wants to be up forward and going for it. And he's specifically strong here in this opening sector, so that may be the area that he wants to go for. Caven Norris certainly staking his claim as he sets the fastest lap of the race last time out.
Boy, every time into turn 3, Trepignet just goes way deep into the corner, but then his exit starts to suffer. Almost needs like he needs to switch that around, get himself a better run here down into turn 5 where he can get good passes in, because he's way too far back that time.
Yeah, he really is. He's going to have to try to play a little bit of a head game here is what I'd have to say. Maybe try to make a little bit of move, non-moves. Oh, the brakes on that 87 just looking so much stronger. Tighter line there through the sweepers as they go through 7 and 8. Let's see if he can maybe set them up here. Turn 10, as I said before, very crucial corner. If Vincent can get this run right, maybe take a late apex and carry some speed through the corner, he may have a chance to overtake.
Not looking like it. We got a nice little battle in the mid-pack in the meantime. I see Brayton in the 89 in 10th trying to get an attack on Xanadakis. This is down into turn 10 there. Ooh, almost gets to the bumper of Nico. And then Villegas behind them in the 101, just watching to see what comes of this.
Yeah, and I have to say, Braden's a little bit lucky there that he didn't get more checked up through the corner, because I was keeping an eye as well on Villegas behind him. They come together a little bit in that accordion effect here, coming through turn 10 under the bridge. That is the oval around here. Obviously hasn't been used in real life in quite a while, owing to the massive earthquake that hit this area. But the road course still in operation. Oh, a little bit of side-by-side there in the back.
Yeah, that's the fight between Belval and Desjardins. And I think Belval's going to be able to get that as they come out of the corner in the background. Yes, you can see the white car ahead of the red and blue one, but he's going to try and come back at him as this fight up in front of them is starting to heat up.
Oh, just some great action all over the course here today, Joe. And yeah, you're right. As Breton tried to get on Xanadakis, woo, a little bit of weaving there in front, as I believe that was Kwok-Min trying to get past Nicholson. But the 89 here of Breton, very, very close to Xanadakis. Xanadakis, an aggressive driver. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some stout defense here out of that number 07.
And they lost Desjardins. He went off at 3 and 4. That's why you're suddenly seeing it as 3 cars instead of 4 as we had before. Coming out of the S's section. Once again, very strong there for Breton. Alexander looking at it. Holy cow, where is Villegas going? I thought he wasn't going to make the corner there for a second, the way he just sailed it in.
I did too. We're going to check this here again. Very close under braking in mid-corner. It looks like there that Breton may have gotten the better run. Whoa, look at all these cars weaving around. It's like a warm-up lap out here, Joe.
Yeah, that's Nicholson trying to shake Kwok-Min, but neither of them are making a pass as we once again break hard into 11. Xanadakis retaining that top 10 position under the oval. By the way, I did get confirmation that it's not because of the earthquake that they've stopped using the oval. So I had that information at my side at one time, and I seem to have lost it. But I do know I have confirmed that it was not ruined because of the earthquake.
Well, all right. Interesting to know. I'll have to make a mental note for that myself. Checking back in on our leaders, though. Kevin Norris able to hold out a nice little gap here to Trepanier. And by a gap, I mean about a half a second, but that's the biggest gap we've seen out of those leaders thus far.
Stark contrast to what we saw last race there in at the Red Bull Ring for our Ferrari Challenge down into the braking. And this is the battle between Jean-Claude and Robbie Campbell that we've got on screen for P5 right now. Just separated by about 0.3 of a second. Seen lots of this. It seems like cars are kind of pairing off around the track.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a do-si-do around here. And Robbie Campbell, remember, absolutely dominant last season out. Ooh, we've got a little side-by-side there in the back. That's the 89 of Breton, and Xanadakis going at it. And is that Villegas trying to get involved?
He is, and he manages to get side-by-side with Nico. Nico's going to try and pinch him back to the side of the track to widen the entry down into the hairpin as much as he can. Round the outside. Can Jorge do that? Yes, he can. He's going to hang tough. They're almost banging doors as now they accelerate to 11.
And now Jorge is going to have a little bit of an advantage because that's going to be Breton ahead of him, pulling him along. But it looks like Xanadakis has a nose. He's going to have the preferred line. They've got to be late on the brakes. They're still by side through 11. Off into the grass is that is Villegas. Is he going to be able to hold it? No. Xanadakis will hold on to P11.
101 back. Oh, bit of bad exit. Xanadakis might open the door once again. Jorge's going to give it another shot. Down into the first corner for the 101. He's got the desired line, but he doesn't have a nose ahead. Way deeper on the brakes. and he'll make it stick.
Yo! Thought Xanadakis may have done a little bit of a pit maneuver there coming out of the corner, but he's going to make it work. So very, very heads-up driving there from Alexander Breton as he keeps it. And there go the cones. That is actually okay. There is no problem with that. We saw a lot of those cones flying last night.
Exactly. Part of me does kind of want to see, as we once again go to our leaders, iRacing incorporate, realistic damage if you were to hit cones like that in a race car. But I can imagine the complaints that would come from the forums after they implemented that.
Yeah, I don't think people would be real happy about that one, Joe. As we focus back here, riding on board with Vincent Trepanier as he follows Caven Norris here. The gap still maintaining at about half a second. Starting to think that this may be a little bit of fuel saving from Trepanier, like you may have suggested, Joe.
I haven't seen him attacking lately. Let's listen here as we watch him on board. Let's see if he lifts a little.
No, it looks like he's going pretty much all out. No early lift, so this may just be a little bit of a stall out that we've come to expect. Oh, but I'll tell you what's not a stall out. That's the battle for P6 as Nathan Nicholson moving his way forward once again.
Side by side as they continue down to the last chicane. It's hard to go wheel to wheel through here. Contact between the cars, and that checks up Langlois as Kwok Nin thinks this is my chance now. He gets up to the bumper of the Canadian, but Jean-Claude looks like he had a good enough exit. At least he'll hold him behind.
Able to hold that off. Yeah, Nicholson very much on a mission here to get out and get back to those positions as we ride on board right now with Kwok Nin trying to close in on Langlois.
Looking left and right, trying to see if he could find an opening, but it's just not quite there. By the way, Anderson Schmidt did take a pit stop. I think he is already back out on the track. So that is one of our mid-packers taking an early go at things because we're not even halfway yet. And nothing doing there for Langlois. Oh, and did Kyle Robertson have something happen? The 15 is off the track. I think he just spun himself. Yeah, he's going to get going. He'll fall to 24th position as we continue to watch from on board. Kwok Nin coming out of the S's. Gaining under braking on the 41. Jean-Claude in this position because he lost out in a battle to the Porsche ahead, that 56 with Nicholson inside of it. Since then, he's been trying to play defense on the green Bimmer.
Indeed, he has. And Kwok Nin there looking like he was able to take a little bit of a later apex going through that long hairpin of turn 10. To carry a little bit more speed, but I don't think it's quite enough to get him by, and indeed he's not going to be able to do it.
He's within range, though. I think another little slip up out of the 41 will do it. Just has to stay patient, wait for the right time, and then pounce when he sees it. So various GT3 cars fly down the front stretch, past the pits, not seeing anybody else coming in on this lap around, so it could be that Schmidt was just an outlier on that one.
Yeah, sometimes, especially around a track like this where it is hard to overtake, just taking that completely contrary pit strategy can really pay off in spades, or it can come back to bite you. We'll have to see for that, and we'll keep an eye on Schmidt for you as this race keeps going along. Right now, we're going to go back to the 31 of Chet Miller, though.
As Miller chases Espina. This is for the 18th position here, so round about the mid-pack that they're working on, all on their lonesome, amazingly, with how big this field is. I'm surprised they've found this much room. This one is Ferrari versus Lambo. It's the two Italian marks going at it.
Yes, indeed, and much like last night, we're not seeing a whole lot of favoritism out of that Lamborghini. It was very much the new kid in town last season. It looks like some of the love for it may be dying out a little bit, the BMW being highly favored here in GTM series, with the new Ferrari making up the next highest number of entries. But there you can see it, just trying to reel in Espina in that Ferrari and just not quite able to do it. Let's see how they handle turn 10. A little bit of a tighter entry there if he can.
Still within roughly half a second of that blue Ferrari. Blue and red there as it plunges down the hill. One of the few places with elevation change here at Motegi. And he tucks it in nicely to the apex, making sure that Chet Miller really doesn't have much of an answer down through the final chicane and off the corner. And Chet Miller, once again, not getting the exits that he needs. We're getting close to that halfway mark. How many others will try that alternate strategy to get themselves track position?
Well, we're going to go back here at that battle for 10th. Nico Xanadakis and Villegas not separating at all. Breton ahead of them able to pull away a little bit, but Xanadakis definitely back on the attack. He has not let that 101 out of his sights.
He wants to do better than this, of course. Try and get himself farther up the order and get a decent finish here today compared to last week. So far, an 11th would certainly do him plenty of good. He was 0 points last time out with a DNF. He needs to get himself on the board, considering last week will absolutely be a drop.
Yeah, Nico's not having a good one there, but we've seen some good speed out of him, so I think he's got a chance here. Yeah, there you can see it, just the ebb and flow of those two drivers over the course of the last several laps.
Yeah, pretty evenly matched between them. You have to wonder, though, how much of that is being evenly matched and how much is them being held up by the car ahead. Is certainly Nico's brave on the brakes here into turn 11, because we've seen this so much where cars just get quite stuck with one another at this track. And it's so hard to tell what the actual pace is if you've got 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars all together.
Yeah, very much so, Joe, as we cross... Oh, that is a mistake there. That's the lone Ford of McLaughlin.
What happened to Nick? This is coming out of turn 11. This is heading into it on the replay. Let's see if the Ford has any sort of troubles on the exit, or is this going in? A little wobbly there. And, well, wheel in the dirt. That'll do it. Oh, good job avoiding the wall, though. I thought I couldn't see from my angle if he had hit it or not until we saw that replay. So great job from the 62 to just kind of pull it to a halt and wait patiently.
Yeah, Nick taking this opportunity to now dive into the pits. So he is the second driver here on what we can assume is a scheduled pit stop. Checking back here, though, this is that battle that Kwok Nin that we were watching earlier as he tries to claw and some time in on Jean-Claude Langlois. That's Robbie Campbell and ahead of them.
And Nathan Nicholson. This has become a bit of a 4-car train. And this is all for effectively 5th place. They're not nearly as close as what we saw last night in the pros, where we had a train from 2nd, down to 7th for a majority of the race. As fewer cars as well here in this one and farther down the field. Even still, looks a very similar principle to what we experienced before.
Yeah, just nobody really being able to claw that back in whatsoever. A little bit more surprising with this battle is there are a couple of makes here. This is obviously Nin and Langlois fighting it out. Oh, that's Villegas way off.
Oh, no. And after he was looking at a top 10 himself, he plummets down to 16th. Did he get help here, or did he do this on his own? Did it on his own.
Oh,
Crunch.
What a shame there. Now, this will be interesting, though, to see. We were talking about Nico Xanadakis maybe being held up behind Villegas. So we'll have to take a look at Nikos' times and see if he's able to go a little bit faster.
Coming back live here, 17 to go. And as we get into the range of where we expect pit stops, I see some. Sepulveda is in. Schmidt has been in. Bowden's been down pit lane. I wonder if he's down pit lane once again. So I think the 5 has suffered a drive-through penalty at some point here, now that he's finally taking his pit stop. 87 of Trepanier, within 0.8 of a second of Kevin Norris. He lost the lead early on. Kevin aggressive to try and snatch that one up and is so far reaping the benefits. We're coming towards the pit entry now. Let's see if either of them elect to come in this time through.
Yeah, there you see the ebb and flow of the lap times, just a little bit here, a little bit there from both drivers. Neither electing to come into the pits thus far. We're getting down here with about 16 minutes to go. I think if I remember correctly, Joe, last night we saw pretty much everybody coming in at about the 10-minute mark. That was as long as we saw anybody stretching.
So this group still split by almost nothing. Little peek to the inside from Langlois. Oh, but Langlois slides it out. Somo spins around completely, catches it. And it appears that the M4 is going to be able to rejoin the track without any harm, except for perhaps a bruised ego.
And I wonder there if that's a little bit of overheating the tires. As I said, that BMW tends to be a little bit planted, and when you overcook the tires a little bit, you obviously just get a lack of grip, and I think that's what may have happened. Langlois just pushing as hard as he could to keep up to the back of Robbie Campbell, and that sent him spinning around.
One of the stalemates that we saw, Chet Miller, has broken away and pitted early compared to his rival, so we'll watch that, see if he manages to jump. Who was that he was with before? I think it was Espina, wasn't it?
Yes, Joe, indeed it was.
So we'll watch Espina, see where he comes out once their stops play. We're watching Malbron right now, and Redel for the third spot. They have fallen 8.5 seconds behind our top two. This really is looking a lot like last time, with the front two drivers just kind of schooling everybody.
Yeah, very much so, and a lot with the sort of driver pairings that we've seen. Now, obviously, we had that big train we were following around last night. Haven't really seen that, as a couple incidents and accidents here have caused it, but that's Malbron diving on into the pits.
But he misses it. He misses it, and is this going to cause him a penalty? He does have to give time back. Oh, so that battle's probably going to be broken up when he comes back out on track. Just sends it in way too deep. This entry chicane is so tricky, and it's not hitting the wall that you got to worry about, although there is one there you can see. It's cutting the course.
Yeah, we'll go here and check out the onboard replay so you can see just how tight of a pit entry this is. Yeah, we didn't really talk about it in the pre-race show, but it is an absolute bear. Yeah, there you see it, trying to get it down and just not able to do it. You see him slowing down there, trying to give back as much time as he could. Just not able to do it. Not sure. Looks like he's able to get back out and on his way, so I don't think he suffered a penalty from that.
Yeah, I think he gave the time back. And I guess it doesn't count it as an unsafe pit entry. So he has managed to come back in 15th. He is actually our highest pitter right now in spite of that error. Next one down would be Langlois in 18th. We're still waiting for most of the front runners to elect to come in. .13 minutes left on the clock. Norris and Trepanier stuck at an impasse between the pair of them. Same thing with Radel for the time that he was with his rival, and then one of them pitted. Now he waits to come in. Actually curious if...
Oh, Norris and Trepanier are into the pits.
Louise keeps going, so he's not going to respond to his rival pitting. But these two coming in at the same time... It's kind of surprised that Trepanier was not going to try and do it on a different lap from Norris. Looks like Robbie Campbell pits as well. Nicholson stays out. Kwok Nin stays out. Xanadakis does as well.
Oh my goodness, that's a mistake there from, that is from Kevin Norris. He took tires, Joe.
Oh, critical in the battle for the lead. So we won't know if Trepanier would have jumped him on fuel only, but it's a moot point. Regardless, the 87 now has the gap he's been hoping for. How much did Norris lose? Almost 8 to 9 seconds. That's about how far back P2 was. He could actually lose second place as well.
Well, this could be an interesting battle, and for any of your viewers who are not used to this form of GT racing, you do not want to take tires here. These Pirellis are specifically designed to last multiple stints, so you don't need to take them in a short sprint race like this, and it's just a matter of him forgetting probably to uncheck that take tire box.
Yeah, they can't take tires and fuel at the same time, and that means it's going to be much longer. By the time it starts, it has to at least finish the tire. You got to fit one on, so that's why it cost him the time, even if he realized it immediately. So where is our leader, our temporary leader of the 8? He is coming up to turn 11 right now. Oh, who is that off track? Someone off out of the S's.
That's the 101. That's Villegas again. His day just going from bad to worse, Joe.
Oh, no. So what? Oh, I think he touched the grass. Oh, and that was a pretty hard clobber. The rest of the field now comes in. Louise is there. Nicholson, Nin. Looks like Breton is in. And Zanadakis.
Indeed, they are. So this is the rest of the field. I've got my eye on Caven Norris, who's just now coming through the final chicane and onto the main straight, watching to see if Riedel's going to be able to get out and on his way. He is done. But that is going to be Norris streaking by, so a little bit of ground to make up here in the final seconds. Nathan Nicholson, though, able to close up very close behind Louise, so there still may be a podium on here for him. That's going to be a that Porsche there you can see in the back of your screen trying to break up this BMW trifecta.
Remember Malbron's error into pit lane? He's down to 7th because of that. That one hurt.
Very rough for him, rough indeed. But you can see there, that's a nice little battle starting to shape up. That's Kwok Nin and Robbie Campbell in a nice little scrap for P5. That is Nin behind in that green BMW, Campbell in one of the few Ferraris out here today.
Our closest battle up amongst the top 10 right now. Thought Norris would be a lot closer to Louise when they came out, but it was roughly about 3 seconds, so he should be safe enough in these final 10 minutes as long as he can keep the pace. And a little bit of an error there from the green BMW. Kwok Nin drops back briefly, comes back under braking, nearly getting up to the back of the 93, just about pushing him through the corner.
Yeah, definitely is riding on board with Kwok Nin here. Little bit fidgeting on the apex there of the corner. Yeah, you can tell Kwok kind of knew that, didn't get the one that he wanted to. Taking a breath there, just trying to take in the settings and everything, as he knows he's only got about 8.5 minutes here left to make this pass.
Hey, you can see him just glancing at the mirrors to see what was happening behind him, but he's not under threat from Malbron, who's probably going to be catching up, I would think, based on pace alone. Little poke to the inside with an alternate line, trying to square it off. Look at how much input he's putting on the wheel, and Nin did get the shot, but it's not that long of a straight. I think Campbell's going to be safe. Yep, there was a half-hearted look from the 86 and then decided it's not worth it.
Yeah, just decided to not fully go for the commit there, but he's still close enough behind to make it look. Ooh, a little bit of a peak there as well. That may be a little bit of a head game out of Kwok Nin, knocking over those cones yet again as he tries to get past that Ferrari.
Ooh, this is a good exit here. He's going to have the slipstream. He could try it if he's brave. He thinks about it. He's going to show his nose. He manages to get side by side and is given room at the apex, but his pinched off exit allows Robbie Campbell to retain that P5.
Indeed, he does, but Kwok certainly has some speed here to be able to try to make the move, so it'll be interesting to see if he is able to do it. Definitely looking like he is not able to immediately gain that ground back up through the sweeping turns 7 and 8. Heavy braking, though, down into the left-hander of 9. Kwok obviously closing in under braking as the car's concertina, but now they come back up to speed. Let's see what he's able to do.
That's up to 0.7 of a second. I think the braking is really the strength that you're seeing on the 86 that could give him something. As this has been going on, I've been keeping half an eye on third because Louise has Nathan Nicholson only about half a second back, so that could erupt itself as well. 6 minutes left on the clock, and you see Nin coming under the bridge and back into the infield portion, still trailing the Ferrari.
Yeah, still trailing, not able to do it, but definitely losing some ground there. That gap growing a little bit, but we're going to jump just a car up the road. Nathan Nicholson back on his recovery drive, has caught up to the back of Lewis Riedel, and he's looking very strong in that Porsche.
Following in the slipstream, hoping that he could pull forward enough. I don't think he's going to be here, although he just about gets into the bumper of the 8. Still somehow, in spite of that, looks like he got a slightly better exit out of 4. Switching sides once again off to the left hand of the track and trying to swing it through the hairpin of turn 5. We hop on board where iRacing has seen fit to put a number plate exactly where we don't want it.
iRacing just trying to be helpful for us there. That is obviously part of the new Porsche GT3 that has been put out there, this new machine. I think that's part of the reason, Joe, why we're seeing a little bit of slippage here from Nicholson that he's able to control and kind of use to his advantage. Like I said, our tends to be pretty quick in a straight line, and because of that rear engine, rear wheel drive, it can get out of sorts a little bit and still keep itself going.
Putting the pressure on, making sure that Louise has to be picture perfect out there today. Only maybe 3 laps left to go, I think, here. Maybe less than that even, because they are a little bit of a distance back from Trepanier, let's not forget. In fact, about 11 seconds from him. Down through turn 11, and once again, we're seeing 2 drivers quite stuck, trying to play the waiting game, looking for the chance like that as Louise was bad off the corner, and Nathan spies his best chance, but he's going to have to go the hard way around because look at the stout defense from the number 8 down into the first corner. He's very shallow. Will that cause him a poor exit? I think it does. Here comes the Porsche.
That's going to put Nicholson on the outside coming down into turn 3, but goes for the late crossover move. Dives down hard on the brakes for Nathan Nicholson. He tries to hold it out, and he has got it, Joe.
Nathan said, I have this dummy for sale. Would you like it? And it looks like Louise snatched that one up, unfortunately. So the 56 gets onto the podium with that move. Now, can he either run away or at least hold off Louise in these final couple laps?
Well, we saw the outright speed from all the Porsches yesterday, and I got the sense that Nicholson was being a little bit held up, so I think he will hopefully be able to streak away here a little bit as, in the back there, Kwok Min falling off the back of Robbie Campbell, but Jose Malbran starting to close in on the back of Kwok Min.
I remember Jose is a little bit out of order here with that unusually long pit stop where he missed the entry. So he's hungry to get this back. And this time it is BMW versus BMW. And look at him, force him to go defensive. Kwok Min knows he's under threat. He knows this is a quick driver behind him, and he doesn't want to give it up this late in the race.
No, he does not. And Kwok Min definitely one of the veterans here. Whoa! That defensive move forcing Malbran to rethink a few things. Everybody getting a little bit feisty here in the closing couple of minutes.
Oh, wow. I almost feel like he's going too defensive because he wasn't really close enough there. And he could be costing himself some time with these shallow entries. Even still, it's working, at least for the time being. The 187 has not successfully gotten past. We are down to 2 to go. And there's another little dive down to the inside. This time, is it going to stick? He's got it through. Kwok Min tries to come back around the outside, but he runs out of racetrack.
Is Kwok going to be able to try to fight back around here a little bit, carry that momentum? He's going to try to, thinks about maybe trying to find an opposite line, taking a wider entry into the corner, looking out the back there of Malbran. It looks like, though, that move is done and dusted and moved the 187 up into 6th place.
That was clever by Jose. I thought that was going to be an over-under for Kwok Nin, and he just kind of easily fed him out to the grass gently so that he had the lift in the end. So very savvy stuff on the 187, but that's only going to get him back up into 6th. He started from 7th, was probably looking at least a top 5 if it weren't for his problems. Oh, late move there from Nin. Very late.
And that is not normally an area, but he's going to go for it again. Oh, Malbron a little wise to it, shuts the door, and I think Kwok Nin not wanting to get into an incident at that point. Ooh, let's see what happens there.
No, this time he doesn't. Malbron with nerves of steel. I probably would have gone off the apex there and given him some space, seeing him diving in like that, but Malbron just shut the door and trusted him. And credit to Kwok Nin, he did get it slowed up in time. He didn't hit him, but boy, did it come close once again. I'm telling you, that BMW is just unbelievable on the brakes.
It really is. I am just floored by how late Kwok Nin is able to throw that car in there at this point. They're crossing the line here with 1 lap to go, so it is now or never time for Kwok Nin, but he's already been driving that car like it's now or never for the past 4 laps here. Who thought about going to the inside? Malbron cuts him off a little bit.
The Texan is feisty and maybe too feisty. Oh, around he goes. Nobody nearby, so he's able to get the car rolling. Not even oh, there's the reaction. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it showed no emotion in that whole thing, just kind of coolly watched it spin and then silently cursing himself as he returned to the track. Eventually, he falls to 9th because of that mistake.
Well, I do have to give some respect to that. I mean, if you're going to have the emotion, wait until it is you are back out on the track and going. Right on board here with Luis Rydell as he is trying to chase down Nathan Nicholson. Remember, I thought that Porsche may slip away off into the distance. Not so, almost into the rear tailpipe of the Porsche. Riddle not giving this fight away yet.
And Trepannier's only got a couple more corners to go in front of him. We'll go to that as he tries around the outside of the hairpin of 9, cuts back, nothing doing. They're starting to lose time as well, so they got to watch out. Trepanier just behind Chet Miller. That's a lapped car ahead of our leader, and he's just kind of showing his nose, saying, you know, if you're gonna be there, maybe just pull over, let me through, so I don't have any issues here at the end, because the clock is at 0, and he doesn't want to see this go away in the final corner. But frankly, you're safe here, Vincent. You're going to get back-to-back wins here at Japan. Motegi goes to the 87.
An incredible drive there from Trepanier. Kevin Norris, obviously with that mistake in the pits, costing him a chance to battle for the win. And behind them, that battle we were keeping our eye on, Nathan Nicholson with the recovery drive, holding off Luis Rydell.
Malbron will recover at least a 6th. Poor Kwok Nin all the way down to 9th there at the last bit of the race. Trying to see if we have any other battles. I think the next nearest one we've got is Desjardins in 18th with Sepulveda chasing him. And Vicente is actually out of position here. So let's see if he's got something big here in the last corner. Oh, as someone behind him has problems. That was McLaughlin.
And McLaughlin just running a little bit wide in that Ford. Looks like Vicente tried to get a little bit more of a move there. He could have had something going on, but nothing doing. 1, 2, 3. They cross over the line there. Oh, McLaughlin, I think just having a little bit of fun there and finding the inside wall of the pit lane.
Indeed he is. Last battle on track is for 24th with Burmeister holding off Morales. This is one of the lower spots here, but impressively 31 cars left on the lead lap. I didn't think the pace would be that close, but it was. And plenty of them were able to complete all 23 laps. We're going to head to break now. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today. We install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi, round 2 in the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. Went to Vincent Trepanier. He's won the first 2 rounds so far. Caven Norris actually had a pretty good shot at this one, but unfortunately it seems he is his own worst enemy lately. He finishes in second as Nathan Nicholson was P3. Louise Riddell is finishing in 4th with Robbie Campbell in P5. Then it's Jose Malbron finishing in 6th. Breton got a 7th place after starting from 15th. Zanadakis 14th to 8th himself, and Kwok Nin was actually looking like he might finish much higher up, but he had an error on the very last lap and wound up 9th. 10th went to Jean-Claude in the 41.
In 11th, it was Claude Bevel, followed by Philippe Magnan with Christopher Rhines in 13th, and Matt Hilton and Anderson Schmidt rounding out your top 15. Paul Espina was 16th, followed by Jorge Villegas, having a very, very rough race out there. We saw him racing farther up in the field earlier on. Marc-Andre Desjardins was 18th, followed by Vicente Sepulveda in 19th, and Nick McLaughlin was 20th.
Swindells was 21st after qualifying 31st. Another one that gained quite a bit. Amazingly, Kyle Robertson went from 22nd to 22nd. Kwiatkowski was 23rd as Burmeister finished P24. Then Rodrigo Morales got a 25th position. Nathan Miller, another one up quite a bit, 35th to 26th. Suen into 27th. Pavolano into the 28th spot. Scardura was 29th, and appropriately, Chet Miller rounds out our drivers who finished on the lead lap in 30th.
Gabriel Neone was 31st, and David Morse was in 32nd. The rest of your drivers there, Bowden, Vieira, Horvath, Tavitas, Moreau, and Plord, unable to finish today's race.
And we are going to talk to second place finisher Caven Norris here. And Caven, it's got to be a little bit disappointing. You looked like you had something for Vincent in this race, and he got away from you.
Yeah, same result, but very disappointed of myself.
I can completely understand, but it's encouraging, I have to think, that you've been able to challenge him, that you've been able to keep relative pace to Trepanier. Do you think you can limit those mistakes in the coming rounds? So you think you can learn from them and be able to start snatching some victories?
Of course, it's the first time I do this mistake, even on official on iRacing. So it's a pretty easy mistake that I won't reproduce again. So no, I had the pace, I had the focus. Was pretty confident the whole race, so yeah, won't happen again for sure.
Still, I believe that is 2 second places for you, and that'll keep you in the hunt in the championship. Do you see yourself potentially taking the championship as a whole this season? Does that look likely?
After 2 races, I can say that's my objective. I could see that I had Trepanier the race. He did a couple of mistakes. I did some too, but I'd say I was pretty confident to finish P1.
I don't blame you. I would have confidence too after that one. Regardless, congratulations on a podium. Anybody help make this one happen for you?
Of course, Guillaume Lévesque. He's racing on the pro in the PRL, and Alexandre Breton too, my teammate. So yeah,
great stuff there from the 74 of Caven Norris, who finished second today, and then finishing behind him it was Nathan Nicholson, and DJ has caught up with him.
Well, Nathan, I've got to imagine that was a little bit of a frustrating day, but at the same time, probably a pretty fun one, the way you were able to fight back through the field there and get back onto the podium.
Yeah, the race did not start the ideal way. You know, I would have liked to just get away with that front pack and try to fight for the win, but it is what it is, you know. Incident, whatever. It's just racing, and I got back into it, just kept my head down and kept charging.
So when that incident happens, did that reset your mentality at all? Were you maybe going a little bit hyper-aggressive? Was it a little bit more of a situation of, okay, I'm just going to let this race come to me? Or was it just you're going to keep doing what you're doing?
As soon as the incident happened, it was, like you're saying, just kind of a mental reset. It is what it is. I just kept my head down and just kept doing what I'm doing because I knew I had pace.
Well, I think you did a pretty good job with it there, my friend. Obviously bringing home the banner for Porsche. Next time out, though, we head to a new track, Hungaroring. Have you had a lot of time to practice there?
Yeah, I've done some testing. I personally really like the track, and I think it suits the Porsche, and I think we'll do good there.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how it does out there as well. Anybody you'd like to thank for this third place here today, Nathan?
I'd like to thank Brian for bringing me on the team, Move Up, Race Factory, Freem USA, United for Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, and Extreme Sim Racing.
Thank you very much, folks. That was Nathan Nicholson, your third place finisher here today. And now Joe Peak has caught up with Kwok Nin.
Yes, he finished 9th today, but it was higher up than that until the last lap. It was looking like an exciting battle until that little mistake coming into the first couple corners. Kwok, talk us through that epic fight you had with Luis.
Luis was putting up a really good fight with defending his position. I thought I could play mind games with him and throw him off, but instead I threw myself off.
It's sometimes easy to do that. How do you feel about this? You still gained one position from where you started. Knowing you could have had more, does that disappoint you? Or you take a positive outlook out of this?
Well, I wish I could finish in 7th or 8th until I made a mistake losing that position. I'm a bit disappointed in myself, but moving forward, I learned from this race to just be patient and keep on driving.
Speaking of learning, we got a new track here on the service that we're coming to for the next round. How much time have you spent on the Hungaroring so far?
I only spent maybe 20 minutes on it. That's about it. So, got a lot of practice for that track as well.
Yeah, I'd say so. There's a lot of secrets to be unlocked there. Regardless, congratulations on the top 10. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my family, you guys, PRL, and my girlfriend and my team. And you guys have a good night.
You too as well, sir. I was 9th place, walking in here today in round 2, which is going to wrap us up. So we want to give a thank you to the sponsors as well, which of course includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab, it helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. And ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. As well as SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts. We've listed them here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See her Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC, and there's a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel while you're down there if you haven't yet, because as we said, the combination next week will certainly put on a show. LRP, Lime Rock Park, and Hungaroring. So that'll be October 5th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.